All right, old school NBA fans, self-researched NBA facts. I got another video for you. As always, thanks to anybody who watches my videos, subscribes to my channel. I really appreciate it. I know it's not that much to look at per se, but I am working on some upgrades. Going to get graphics and some video eventually. Just taking a little longer than I'd hoped for. Been busy at work, life stuff. You know how it goes. Anyway, in this video here, what I'm going to talk about, something that I kind of knew, but I didn't know the specifics of, and that is MVP winners after the age of 30, because there hasn't been very many of them. And to me, it does speak to longevity, the highest level of longevity, which would be, the MVP. That's the highest level, right? Meaning you were the most valuable player of that season. So it's not a very long list, believe it or not. And I don't mean that you started the season at 29, it became 30, and there really wasn't only a couple even of those times that it happened. But you players that started the season at least age 30, okay, but won the MVP. It only happened 12 times. Now, first of all, in the ABA, in the 9 seasons of the ABA, it never happened. It was always a player in their 20s. So the first MVP was in 1953. 1956. Sorry, I think that was the All-Star game. I get those mixed up. 1956. So there's 69 years of NBA MVPs. If you add the ABA in there, that's 78 MVPs that we've had. And out of the 78, 66 of them were players that were in their 20s, at least started the season in their 20s. The players that were at least 30 when they won the MVP, in 1964-65 season, it was Bill Russell. He started at 30. He turned 31 as the season went on. The next time it happened was just a couple years later. Same kind of thing. Wilt Chamberlain turned 30 in August of 1966, right before the 66-67 season, about 2 months before. So he was age 30. The next year in 68, Wilt won it again. And he was 31. So he won it in 67 and 68. Julius Erving, Dr. J, he was 30 in February of 1980. So in the 1980-81 season, he started the season off at 30, turned 31 during the season. The next time it happened was in the 89-90 season. Magic Johnson just turned 30 in August, 2 months before the season started, so he was 30 for the whole season. The next time it happened was in 1993-94 season, Akeem Olajuwon. Olajuwon was 30 in January of 93, which was well before the 93-94 season. He turned 31 during the season in January of 94. The next one was Michael Jordan. In the 95-96 season, Michael Jordan started the year at 32 years old. He turned 33 in February during the season. The next year, Karl Malone. He was 30 in July. That would have been 3 months before the season started. He was 33 years old for the whole season. The next season, in 1997-1998, Michael Jordan started the season at 34 years old, turned 35 in February during the season. The next season happened again, 1998-1999. Karl Malone, they were just trading MVPs. He started the season off in July. He turned 30. What was he? Karl Malone was actually 33 in 97. I don't know if I said that right. Maybe I did. But Karl Malone in 98-99 season was 35 years old. So the next one to do it was Steve Nash in 2004-2005. He was 30 when the season started. He was 31 in February. And then the next season in 2005-2006, Steve Nash did it again. He started the season at 31, turned 32 during the season. That's the 12 MVPs in their 30s. That's it. That's the list. And it's compiled of only 8 players. Like I said, there were 78 MVPs between the ABA and the NBA. Now, of the 12, 4 players won it twice in their 30s. Wilt Chamberlain, Michael Jordan, Karl Malone, and Steve Nash. That's it. Only 4 players have ever won multiple MVPs in their 30s. That's a short list. Now, the only players to win the MVP in their 20s and their 30s was Bill Russell, Wilt Chamberlain, Dr. J, Magic Johnson, and Michael Jordan. Only 5 players on that list. Now, you want to get an even shorter list. How many players in NBA history won multiple MVPs in their 20s and multiple MVPs in their 30s? That's 2 players. Wilt Chamberlain and Michael Jordan. But I do realize that I did miss one because in the 1979-1980 season, I'm not sure I missed that, Kareem won the MVP, and he was 32 at that point. So that was his only one in his 30s. So actually it's 13 players, not 12. I don't know how I missed that. But yeah, Kareem in the 1979-1980 season won the MVP, and he was 32 years old. Not sure how I missed that one. Man, that sucks. But anyway, so he was one of the he'd be one of 6 players that won MVPs in their 20s and 30s. Now, he did not win multiple MVPs in his 20s and multiple MVPs in his 30s. That's only Wilt and Michael Jordan. That's it. That's the list on that one. Not very many. But something that's kind of curious is from 2006-2007 season to now, which that would cover 18 seasons, no player past age 30 has won the MVP. None of them. It was always James Harden, Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, LeBron James won some, Kobe won one, Dirk Nowitzki. It was just players like that won the MVP. Giannis, Jokic has won a bunch lately. Joel Embiid, Steph Curry won a couple. So that's who's winning them, basically. Now, another thing that I find interesting is Defensive Player of the Year. How many Defensive Players of the Year? Now, that's not as long. That goes back to 1983, so there's been 42 Defensive Players of the Year. So, in all, the players that did it in their 30s was Michael Cooper in the 86-87 season, Mark Eaton in the 88-89 season, Akeem Olajuwon in the 93-94 season, Dikembe Mutombo won Defensive Player of the Year in 97, 98, and 2001 in his 30s. Ben Wallace did it twice in his 30s, in the 05 season, the 06 season. Marcus Camby was 32 in the 06-07 season. Kevin Garnett was 31 to 32 in the 07-08 season. And one player has done it in the last 16 years, and that was Rudy Gobert last year. So it's pretty obvious that players are either not maintaining that level on both ends, or just at the very highest level, the MVP level, like they used to. That's the conclusion that I draw to it. Sure, they can make an All-NBA and an All-Star, still be a good player and all that, but the very highest level, they're not doing it anymore. Yet we're told over and over how much skill and how much longer these guys can play and yada yada, but they're not playing at an MVP level. They haven't done so in 18 seasons, and they did one in the last 16 seasons as Defensive Player of the Year when it was a fairly regular occurrence. And also something else that struck me too was how many players won Defensive Player of the Year and an MVP in their 30s. Only one player was Akeem Olajuwon. He's the only player you're going to find on both lists on that in their 30s. So I find that to be, very telling. But, again, I don't know what to say. It's always you always hear that name, either in a handful of players or by himself. But it seems to always have Michael Jordan is in these lists. And the Jordan detractors, the haters, they come on here. Got one today about, 90s is watered down, blah, blah, blah. It's watered down. It's just so funny to me about the whole watered down thing. It's just, nobody ever mentions the 70s. They don't bring up that there was 2 leagues. At one time, the ABA had 11, 12 teams, and the NBA had like 16 teams, something like 18 teams, something like that. I mean, there was even more teams then than there is now at one point. Talk about watered down, but, that never gets mentioned, though. The 90s had some expansion, no doubt about it. But it didn't have anything to do with your playoff run, and it didn't have anything to do with, who the best players were, period. I mean, that's all there is to it. And this nonsense that I heard some idiots say yesterday, and I know some of you guys say don't engage with the idiots, said in the 90s that, Michael Jordan had 4 Hall of Famers on his team. Counting Tony Kukoc as a Hall of Famer. I know, a laughing joke. I agree. But he said there was not more than one, there was only one Hall of Famer on any team at any time. And I'm like, wow, you guys are just uneducated idiots who must just keep following Nick Wright and Shannon Sharp and whatever other talking point they come up with. Let me tell you all the guys. Since Kukoc is a Hall of Famer, you got Dominique Wilkins and Dino Raja on Boston. I think that was in like 95, something like that. You got from 90 to 92, you got Kevin McHale, Robert Parrish, and Larry Bird. Then 93, you got Parrish and McHale. For Detroit, from 90 to 93, you got Dumars, Isaiah, Rodman. There's 3 Hall of Famers right there on that team. You got Grant Hill and Joe Dumars played later in the later 90s. There's 2 Hall of Famers on the same team. Reggie Miller and Chris Mullen. There's 2 Hall of Famers on the same team. Tim Hardaway and Alonzo Mourning. There's 2 Hall of Famers on the same team. That seems a lot more than 0, like what you were inferring. Whatever your name, I can't remember your name now, but whatever, not important. But it's just the fact that these people love to come at hate. But when you want to come at something like this, who's got multiple MVPs in their 20s and their 30s? Wilt Chamberlain and Michael Jordan. Nice list to be on, don't you think? What can you say? That's the list. Jordan is on a list of 6 players who won the MVP, at least one MVP in their 20s and then one in their 30s. Bill Russell, Wilt Chamberlain, Dr. J, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Magic Johnson, and Michael Jordan. That's a pretty damn good list too, wouldn't you say? Or the fact that there's only been 4 players ever to win multiple MVPs in their 30s. Wilt Chamberlain, Michael Jordan, Karl Malone, and Steve Nash. That's it. That's the list. But anyway, that's all I got for this video. I find it very interesting. It's just another one of many angles to talk about how Michael Jordan is, again, on a very select group of people. And, the MVP is no different. You're not going to see LeBron James never won an MVP in his 30s. Shaq didn't. Kobe didn't. Tim Duncan didn't. So what can you say? That's the list. So that's it. Thanks for watching, and that's it for now.